You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 177. This isn't what I wanted. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, Breakup Coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. Hello, beautiful bravehearts. How is everyone doing? I am so excited to chat with you today. Today is a day where I am batching my podcast episodes again, and it feels so good. I haven't done this for what feels like forever, but I love being able to write, record, and edit all the month's episodes at one time, and then I'm ahead of the game. It feels really, really good. The last 4 months of my life have been the absolute most difficult, and I am finally seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm finally feeling healthy and good and getting back into a groove again, and it just feels so good. The Bravehearts inside of the Get Over Your Ex program are also just thriving, and I'm loving that. It's been so fun. I have some really big things happening in the business and with my personal life that I really can't wait to share with all of you, longtime listeners who love that. So I'll be doing a personal episode soon coming up, kind of updating you on all of that. It's going to be great. Okay. Also, can we just say we're on episode 177? Can you believe that? We're so close to 200 episodes. It blows my mind. I'm like, what should we do for fun for the 200th episode? We should do something epic, but I don't know what that is yet. So we're going to contemplate that. Okay. Let's get to the point. Today we are talking about a coaching session that took place inside of the Get Over Your Ex program today. And it was so good. It was a really great coaching session. And I have a Braveheart who is coming off of a divorce, and it's been really difficult for her in many ways, as it probably is for almost everyone going through a divorce. And we are currently really working on her reaction to her emotions. So working on reacting to emotions less. And she's been doing really well. I'm just so proud of her and her progress. She had a moment this weekend, though, where she really struggled and reacted to her emotions in a lot of ways. And when we coached on this, there were two main points that came up for her that were creating a lot of discomfort and pain in her life around her divorce. And so the first one is that this divorce was not something that she wanted, which is what we're going to talk about today, right? When we don't want the divorce, when we don't want the breakup, we're like, this wasn't what I wanted, right? And then the second thing is she felt not in control. I'm not in control. My ex is in the driver's seat, which I want to talk about next week. It's too much content to kind of blend together in one episode. They're related, but I think they are more different than related. And I wanted to talk about control and taking that back and feeling like you're in control, even when this wasn't maybe your decision. Okay? So most of you listening would probably really resonate with this specific client, right? You didn't want this divorce. You didn't want this breakup. You didn't want any of this. And the other person is making a decision that then affects you, and you feel very out of control. And it was so beautiful on this call. She was really just saying all these things out loud, as if she was speaking to her ex, but speaking to me. And it was honestly just a magical, raw, vulnerable experience for her. And I think it was just so beautiful and amazing on all the levels. So with that being said, none of us, or at least not the people I know, go into marriage or a relationship wanting it to end in divorce or a breakup. Most of us, right? Most of us really, we want to get married and then stay married and do that process once. We want to find a lifelong partner or a partner in crime, right? But what we forget is that just because we didn't want something in the past doesn't mean we don't want it now. What? Thoughts can change over time. We don't have to keep them the same when they no longer serve us. We are allowed to change our ideas, our perspectives, our thoughts, our values when our reality changes. And I think as humans, we believe that if I hold this belief right now, I must believe this forever. It must be true all of the time, forever and ever. But when my reality is my relationship status is single, I'm going to believe that being single is the best. And when my reality is relationship status is in a relationship, I'm going to believe that being in a relationship is the best. Not because one is more true than the other, but because I live a more authentic life when I believe my current reality is what's best for me. Can you imagine me being in a relationship thinking being single is the best? I'd probably show up in ways that support that and then create that into my reality. So just because my client didn't want the divorce 25 years ago, she didn't want the divorce 1 year ago, she didn't want it a month ago or even a day ago, doesn't mean she doesn't want it now in this present moment with someone who very clearly does not want to be in the marriage anymore. Because here's the way I see it, right? When you're in a situation where someone doesn't want to be in a relationship with you, which is completely out of your control, our options are as follows. Current reality is X, and I fight against X. That's going to equate to pain, suffering, and lack. Your second option is current reality is X, get curious about and or accept X, which will equate to curiosity, unfolding, and excitement. One of my favorite quotes is by Byron Katie, and she talks about when you argue with reality, you lose, but only 100% of the time. This is very similar to just the overall, topic that we talk about on this podcast of how is this breakup or divorce happening for you and not to you. And let's talk a little bit more about what does it look like to tangibly not argue with your current reality, because we can't control the other humans. We can't control the other humans and their decisions, but we can either fight against our reality or learn to accept it and make it our decision. And my question for you, Braveheart, is if you're finding yourself saying, this isn't what I wanted, meaning I didn't want this divorce, I didn't want this breakup, is it possible that I do want this divorce now? That I do want this breakup now? Is it possible that I do actually want this in this moment, right now, today? Knowing all I know about my ex, after everything that's gone on between me and my ex, knowing that my ex doesn't want to be in this relationship anymore, is it possible that this is actually something I do want? For my client, she didn't want a divorce. She didn't start her marriage out wanting this. She was good for 20 some years in the relationship. But today, when her ex is saying he's ready to start dating, that they are talking about allocating different assets, they've had the same argument 1,000,002 times. She's in this place where it's like, wow, actually, I personally do want that divorce. I don't want to be in a relationship where we're having the same argument over and over again, where my partner is saying they're ready to date, where we're allocating different assets. I do want this divorce now. I do want this to complete itself, not because I believe in divorce or even agree with divorce, not because this is how I wanted it to end, but because I do want to be strong. Well, for this client, she's like, I do want it because I want to be strong and I want to protect myself and my kids. There are parts of this that I do want. And when you start looking at that, when you start exploring the parts that you do want, you'll begin to see all the perks of the divorce and the breakup on your side. Or more importantly, the perks of forward momentum no matter what your ex is doing, the things you do want that align with this forward momentum. And coming to this conclusion was so helpful for her in determining how she wanted to show up day in and day out. If she was someone who wanted the divorce now, how would she show up when she had to be around her ex-husband? What would she do when he came to her wanting to talk about dating other people? If she was the one that wanted the divorce, how would that feel, and what would she be doing, and what would she be thinking about herself and her life and her future? It was full lean back energy, and it puts her back in the driver's seat of her own life, which starts our discussion on control and feeling in control of your breakup, which we will talk about next week. So in conclusion, Braveheart, if you are someone who's been saying, I don't want this divorce, I didn't ask for this breakup, this is not what I wanted, consider asking yourself, is it possible I do want this? And just see what comes up for you. Just because you didn't want it in your past doesn't mean you don't want it right now or for your future. What would your future self say if you decided to stop giving energy to someone who doesn't give energy back to you? All right, my beautiful Bravehearts, I love you so much. I hope you have an amazing day, and I will talk to you next time. If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex in 3 months or less to build a life better than the one you thought you had with your ex, I would like to personally invite you to my next group course where we take everything you've learned here on the podcast and apply it to your life. Come check it out at www.lifecoachdorothy.com.